Hello, Froggy here, and it turns out that we do have an Autorez available for IRBs on Savathun's throne world. If you start the second part of the Savathun battle from the final mission, it turns out you can do some fancy maneuvering to free up an Autorez. Thanks to ItAvvy, BergundyPetal, and Cube17 for the loads of work they put into figuring this one out. To start off, you need to move forwards to spawn in Savathun. And after that, make your way back to the previous bit of land where part 1 of the fight happens. You could use a fallback, but I'm just sword flying here. Once you go up the steps, Savathun will spawn in back here, and starting this part of the encounter will trigger a joining allies. If you're caught by it, it'll black screen you, so don't let it catch you alive. Although, if you're dead, it will just move your ghost forwards. Or, I guess, backwards in this case. By the way, you're going to want to have Skyburner's Oath for reasons that will become clear shortly. For this part of the fight, you're just proceeding normally. Or at least as normally as you can in a sequence-broken encounter. You don't have the health bar, but eventually the boss will just move. You'll be clearing this section normally too. I'm swapping onto stasis because it can be a bit handy later. It's more of a insurance policy and not something that's necessary in any sense. Once you've cleared the Hive Guardians out of the way, you'll have to kindly ask Savathun for transportation back to the island. It can be kind of hard to spot where she's at, but if you pay attention to where the attacks are coming from, you should be able to land some shots. This is where the range of Skyburners really helps out.
What do we do?
After you've damaged her enough, you'll trigger the next phase and get pulled back across. The joining allies region will move with you, making this perfectly safe. And the health bar has swapped over to phase 1 Savathun. If you were to tie a sword fly across, you would get black screened, but permanently. And now another section of the fight that you can proceed through normally. It would probably make sense to have one person pick up all 3 of the glass breakers, but that's more because it is more convenient to do so. I like to set a spawn point up here because you'll need to ensure that any mirror dimension spawns are removed. And go ahead and lower Savathun down to a sliver of health. You want to be able to kill the phase 1 Savathun with 1 or 2 shots. We'll be using that Autorez to prime a later one. Anyways, it's time for Mirror Dimension Round 1. You don't have to do anything special on this one until the end. Ideally, you wouldn't set any spawn points, but that can be a little bit tricky, so we're just going to ignore it for the moment. It goes quicker if you have multiple people, but the entire setup is soloable. Once you trigger the memory, go ahead and jump off the map. It will eventually auto-res you. And then just jump off again. We're doing that to manipulate our spawn history.
What is this? How did you?
When the game is looking for places to respawn you, it will not allow you to respawn in some place that's joining allies. So all of those spawn points that we set down in the mirror dimension will be effectively erased. After this speech ends, and it auto-reses and we jump off again, it'll trigger a joining allies that will wipe out all of the pesky spawn points we set down
now
here.
we want to play games. Then let's play.
After a little bit, it'll move your ghost up, and then you can use whatever spawn point you set previously to ensure that you're good to go. So you can see it moved my ghost up here, but since there are enemies nearby, it'll kick me back one spawn point. I would recommend not moving forwards at this point, because if you're forwards when this battle ends, you'll immediately trigger the mirror, and that is not what you want. Go ahead and give Savathun the boot. Next up is the trickiest bit. You want to kill Phase 1 Savathun as soon as you're getting teleported. And then you want to jump off the map without touching the ground. This part can be pretty finicky. I've had the Autorez last anywhere from 0 seconds to 20 seconds. But you can see I am auto-rezzing multiple times in a row. And ItAvvy actually just got the one that we needed. For some reason I'm getting this spawn point here. But I guess that means I can just show you how the Autorez works. You want to proceed through this bit as normal. And pause when you get to the stage of viewing memory. You'll want to wait here until your partner is ready, and then trigger the memory. You'll want to be primed to leave though, because as soon as that ends, it'll trigger joining allies. Anyways, let's look at that from the other end. I'm going to go ahead and have ItAvvy finish off Savathun so that I can focus on being in the air when the teleport happens. Not bothering with stasis this time, although you can use the grenade to block off spawn points, which can come in handy if you mess up and accidentally set one. And there we go. Looks like I got it this time and ItAvvy didn't. I would encourage everyone in the group to be trying for it, because as long as one person succeeds, the whole group does. You can safely jump down the side here, although if you do die, you will be pulled back into the mirror dimension, so perhaps try this from regular patrol first. There are some mission-specific death barriers in Court of Thorns, but since you're out of Sanctum of the Brood Queen, you don't have to worry about getting pulled back to the mirror dimension. I have to say, I'm quite impressed with the amount of trickery that ItAvvy, BergundyPetal, and Cube 17 had to figure out for this one. They really had to become experts on Savathun's throne world.
So you're the expert now. The expert on me, on the hive, on trickery. Is that what you really think?
With the amount of time that it took to figure this all out, I'd probably have to go with yes. Anyways, with the setup out of the way, we can get going on the actual IRB route. I found a nice little dev playground in Temple of the Wrathful, so I figured that would be a good first destination for our Throne World IRB. That is, if I can remember how to get into Witch's Echo from Miasma. I always get turned around inbounds on Throne World. Just getting myself a little bit oriented. And yeah, I think it is back here, or at least that's the way I would normally go. I don't know what it is about this zone that just makes it impossible for me to remember where things are. Yeah, I guess I could have used the other entrance, but oh well. We're back to this hole, a hole that I use quite often, although it seems it's one of their favorite ones to patch on Throne World. I think it's gotten 2 or 3 different iterations. There we go. And we are out. The IRB point we'll be using is on the way to the birthplace of the Vile strike. Over by these six weird staircase-looking things. Go ahead and set your spawn point in the middle. But before we hit the IRB, I'm going to go ahead and show you what the target is, because there's a copy of most of the stuff we're going to be looking at inside of the harvest load. Although you'll see in just a little bit why we're not just going into harvest to explore that area. You can also use this to check out various parts of the strike, and we will be coming back here again in a video in the not too distant future, so there'll be plenty more to check out. Anyways, the load zone is right around here. I would recommend hitting it in the air, although if you do die to the load, you can just continue normally. It's not a big deal, because those doors do open. You don't want to do this from within the mission, though, because it is quite a pain to leave Harvest once you're in it. This is just to show you some things first. As you can see, there are some objects in the distance that are kind of leftovers from other loads. Not really a proper dev playground, but it's got the same sort of vibes. But it is also in the fog, and you can only explore about half of it before you hit the edge of the box. But yeah, this isn't the type of view that I'm here for. So let's see if we can get something nicer. Luckily for us, Temple of the Wrathful actually connects to Witch's Echo, so we can go directly there to die to the load. Want to head out in this direction, and it is a fairly easy load to die to. I actually haven't really bothered figuring out a good setup because you get it pretty much every time, and even if you don't, it is very easy to retry. The load is kind of somewhere in this general area. I generally just kind of stick to the right side here, and somewhere right around here, I think. I think I may have missed it. And maybe a bit lower, or oh, it's actually the first time I've survived there, so I guess I'll get to show you how to retry. Really nothing to it, you just kind of go along up top, and the load zone is nice enough that you'll just kind of hit it. I'm gonna go back and try that again. And drop down a little bit against the edge. And there we go. Now Avvy's going to start the dialogue and then leave as soon as the dialogue actually begins.
We will feed her fear, her pride.
Go on then. You know so much. Tell me who I am.
And we are out of box. Thanks, Avvy. Of course, you can get the whole fire team out here if they leave and rejoin. So let's take a look at what we've got out this way. A whole lot less fog, which is rather nice. Of course, if we go too close to the main structures, we'll be pulled into the box. but there's a lot to poke around with before doing something like that. Let's go see what is solid out this way. These little things probably are. Yup. I doubt those two circles are, though. Little bit of hive chandelier, I guess. Though with the changes to lighting, I'm a bit concerned about going any farther forwards than that. See if we can get out of that green lighting. A little bit of detritus out this way, and oh, another white platform. Oh, and invisible from below, of course. And my grapple is gone. Well, that's great. I didn't want to pass through that white plane anyways, I guess. By the way, the game has changed so that when you are spectating out of box, it no longer enters seizure mode. Very gently snaps the camera every couple of seconds, so you can actually look around and not have to worry so much about all the flashing. Let's get back over to where ItAvvy is for the next bit of the adventure. So ItAvvy managed to make it all the way out to a mirror out of box, and it was very exciting because a portal out of box means that potentially you could take the portal out of box. But unfortunately that was not the case. Those two things aren't solid, but they are a good landmark for what direction to head out to. I'm just gonna grapple fly in this direction for a bit. Oh hey, looks like there's a little bit of land on the right. Maybe you can set a spawn point there. And that was a trap. Welp. Just gotta be careful not to touch the ground here. Or at least if I do, I would have to pull out some stasis to block the spawn. And I guess we'll be redoing that flight. And I'm going to gain back my ammo real quick. So I set my ammo to low. Respawning, set my max ammo to high. And my ammo is a little bit higher every time that happens. And get back up to a respectable amount. Yeah, 67 should do it. Can probably head over to these little things. It's a little bit closer in case I manage to hit box pull again. You can also use these for common ground. It's what ItAvvy used when she IRB'd out, but I like the other spot just a little bit more. Get a little bit of initial height. I'm not sure what level the door is at, but this will probably be high enough. And let's get going. I'm gonna keep this flight in to hopefully provide a nice reference for anyone that's trying to do this flight solo. I'll show you a better way to locate it later, but That'll spoil the mystery. It is quite hard to spot, so you have to keep your eyes peeled. You can just barely see it now on the center right of the screen. I'm gonna go ahead and make my way to it, and then we can reveal what it is. I'm now safely on it. Unfortunately, the mirror is not active, so there will be no zipping around, and almost managed to lose that flight, which would be kind of annoying. But yeah, both sides of the mirror not active. And ItAvvy is going to demonstrate where it connects to. There is a mirror portal in Temple of the Wrathful. So you can see that ItAvvy is in map around Temple of the Wrathful and is now about to hit the portal. Technically that portal's in a different zone though, because if we're actually in this one, we could take the portal ourselves. So let's go see where it is. I'm using the Witch's Echo entrance to Temple of the Wrathful, since that's the load transition we used earlier out of map. The door we're looking for is close to the pathway back to Quagmire. Instead of taking the actual route in front, you want to take a hidden away side area, which I would not fault you if you did not even realize it existed. This connects us to Apothecary. And naturally we have to get the Apothecary load first, but it's literally right in front of the portal. The load zone transition is actually very thin, and Adelaide skipped through it just to verify that the portal didn't work from Temple of the Wrathful. But there you go. Mystery solved. Though I'm sure we'll find much more now that we actually have an IRB in Throne World. But until then, happy exploring.